Since the beginning of time, Earth has created life and then wiped most of it out in catastrophic, ultra-destructive moments. Early Earth was already a hostile place, but these savage events were the absolute worst periods in history to be alive. So naturally, I thought it'd be fun to send me there. You know, to cover it live. Or more likely, dead. Obviously, I can't travel back in time, but DigiPeter can. In this video, we'll show you just how you would die during the most dangerous times Earth has ever seen. Starting with the very first extinction event since multicellular life began, the End Ordovician Extinction. The Ordovician period started almost 500 million years ago and lasted nearly 50 million years. This is a time of planet-wide oxygenation and incredible leaps in biodiversity, known as the Great Ordovician Biodiversification Event. It's so far back in time that the very first species of plants are only now starting to populate the land. In the early to middle parts of this period, it's hard for mammals like you or DigiPeter to breathe. Oxygen makes up just 14% of the atmosphere, but near the late stretches of the Ordovician, say 450 million years ago, the oxygen is as high as modern day, or even higher, pushing 24%. Now, it might not look like much is happening on land. All you'd see here is algae and the first land plants, these little liverworts, which are kind of like moss. And there are no animals yet, which is fine, nothing to eat you yet. But under the surface of those ocean waves, Earth's biosphere is exploding. The first fish are out there swimming around. Jawless fish, armored fish, and even early sharks roam the sea. There's an incredible diversity of reef-building animals like coral and one of my favorite fossil animals, trilobites. Trilobites in all shapes and sizes, in all ecological niches. They rule the underwater world and its warm, shallow oceans. They're kind of like crabs, horseshoe crabs, so it's a pretty yummy time to be around. That is, if you can go without butter, which won't be around for nearly 500 million years. And I'm not the only one who thinks trilobites are tasty. Fascinating creatures like the cephalopod Endoceras, a unicorn-like nautiloid predator with a long, straight shell who grows to lengths of up to 6 meters and feasts on trilobites. But this Earth is very different from the Earth you know. It's dominated by a supercontinent known as Gondwana. And when Gondwana drifted and settled near the South Pole roughly 444 million years ago, the planet began to change. It got cold. Suddenly, the Gondwana landmass was becoming the center of mass glaciation, turning water into thick land ice. DigiPeter should have brought a parka. Sea levels drop rapidly, and the shallow seas drain without warning. Ice ages can cause seas to drop as much as 120 meters. That's 400 feet. That pulls the shoreline right back to the continental shelf. For life in the shallows, there's nowhere to go. Ocean temperatures, where all the complex life lives, drop by 5 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric carbon dioxide drops as well, but it's really the cold that starts eradicating Ordovician life. Yeah, it's way too chilly for these creatures and plants that evolved in warm, shallow oceans. Once their cozy habitat is torn from under them, it's goodbye. So many beautiful, delicious trilobites are gone. Over 100 marine invertebrate families disappear, and over 85% of all marine species die off. And at the end of the Ordovician, you're cold and hungry. There's nothing to eat except the odd scraping of algae. Eventually, you run out of food, and just like some lost, wandering Antarctic explorer, you freeze to death near the South Pole. Man, I'm getting chills just looking at him. Okay, let's take a look at the next extinction era, the late Devonian. Okay, but before we travel forward in time, a quick thank you to our sponsor, CyberGhost, the tool that makes your online life safer, freer, and a whole lot easier. CyberGhost is trusted by over 38 million users and backed by 20,000 plus 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, which already says a lot, but here's why you should care. Every time you go online, someone's watching. Your internet provider, your school or workplace network, even your home Wi-Fi. And no, incognito mode does nothing to stop that. But CyberGhost does. With one click, you pick a location from 100 plus countries, and CyberGhost encrypts all your traffic and sends it through their secure servers. Your activity becomes completely private. No one can track what you do online. But here's the best part. CyberGhost also unlocks content that's blocked in your country. Want shows that aren't streaming in your country? Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime Video? Done. They support 40 streaming platforms for you to choose from. Plus, you can protect up to 7 devices at once, like your phone, laptop, tablet, even your smart TV. It works on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, everything. And right now, through the link in the description, you get their best deal ever. Only $2.03 a month, plus 4 months free. That's 84% off. And with their 45-day money-back guarantee, you don't risk anything. Give it a try, and when you sign up through our link, you also support this channel and help us create more videos like this one. Okay, now let's get back to the Devonian. The late Devonian period started just over 380 million years ago. Earth is greener now. Plants have fully settled on land, and early forests of ferns and Archaeopteris trees stretch along rivers and seas. For DigiPeter, it starts out as a pretty good time. There are some odd but pleasant forests to wander through, no dinosaurs to hunt him yet. And since he brought his fishing pole, he's in luck. Because underwater, this is the age of fishes. Swimming through massive reefs in shallow seas are the first jawed fish, like the fearsome armored placoderms with their massive bony armor and heavy jaws. These terrifying predators grew to enormous sizes, up to 10 meters long, that's 30 feet. It's also a time when the Sarcopterygians, the lobed-finned fish, evolved. Now, they may not look so special, but believe it or not, this fellow is DigiPeter's ancestor. And yours. It's an interesting time to be alive. Within a few million years, another lobe-finned fish, a relative of the one DigiPeter just caught, called Tiktaalik, evolves the ability to crawl onto land. That's the first creature to set foot, or fin, out of the sea. They're not dangerous to a speedy, evolved biped like DigiPeter, but they are fascinating to see firsthand. Meanwhile, DigiPeter has trees, which means he has wood, so he can build himself a little log cabin or a shelter. He can watch his great ancestors flourish. His veggie diet is lacking and he's reliant on rainwater, but oxygen is near modern levels. DigiPeter is thriving. But nearly as soon as it started, the late Devonian went through a series of extinction events that lasted 20 million years. One of the biggest killers of this era wasn't an asteroid or an interstellar object. It's all these darn plants. Yeah, trees. You see, trees evolve seeds and roots for the first time, and those roots grow right into the bedrock, releasing incredible amounts of nutrients. In our era, tree roots are everywhere, but at this time, they trigger mass algal blooms, depleting oxygen from coastal waters. And those algal blooms eventually die off and start to rot, forming gigantic mats of dead organic material. The seas turn anoxic, and marine life suffocates. During this period, there's also evidence of volcanic activity and possible climate swings. But the real killer in the late Devonian is the drop in marine oxygen. Toward the end of the Devonian period, you witness mass die-offs in reefs and fish, entire families that will never recover. 75% of species are lost. The monstrous armored fish disappear, as do most of the trilobites, never to be seen or cooked again. After thriving for millions of years, DigiPeter struggles. By 360 million years ago, the oceans stank of rotten algae. The fish have disappeared, there's not much to eat, and you and DigiPeter drop weight fast. You're starving, and one day you get desperate. You eat some washed up fish and a rotting trilobite. In one horrific gastric episode, you get a historically bad case of food poisoning, and you go extinct in the late Devonian. But that's nothing compared to the next mass extinction event, known as the Great Dying. Okay, fast forward 100 million years or so, toward the end of the Permian period. This is the supercontinent Pangaea, a single landmass spanning most of the planet, surrounded by a global ocean. Ferns and plants burst forth, creating habitat for amphibians, reptiles, and even mammal-like reptiles like these therapsids. All kinds of weird creatures walk the land. Animals like gorgonopsids have evolved to serious predators. For DigiPeter, it's getting a little dodgy out there. There are big boys wandering around these forests, like the sail-finned Dimetrodon, which looks like a dinosaur but is way older, by 40 million years. And the gorgonopsids, they're like saber-toothed tigers that haven't quite finished baking yet. So many of these creatures don't really remind us of anything that exists on Earth today, or even in popular memory, like the dinosaurs. That's because, spoiler alert, the Great Dying is just around the corner. 260 million years ago, a series of volcanoes in China erupted, and 252 million years ago, Siberia basically exploded, turning into one massive volcano for hundreds of thousands of years. In what's now called the Siberian Traps, a nearly inconceivable level of volcanic activity happens, spewing out tons of lava, submerging everything in molten rock. DigiPeter is on the run, spending most of his days dodging lava flows and trying to get anywhere that isn't covered in lava. Now, lava is clearly bad for life near Siberia, but the bigger, planet-wide problem is global warming. Those volcanoes pump nearly unlimited carbon dioxide and sulfur into the atmosphere. Some estimates put the carbon dioxide levels at 20 times today's levels. Worldwide temperatures go through the roof. Oceans get hot, dissolve less oxygen, and become anoxic. Marine systems suffocate, mass die-offs, and then it gets worse. For you and DigiPeter, life sucks. The whole world smells like ash and sulfur. It's rotten eggs. Sulfur becomes a killer. There's so much of it in the air from the volcanoes and sulfur-producing bacteria that it causes intense, widespread acid rain. It acidifies the overstressed oceans, strips the leaves off the trees. Forests start to wither. 96% of all marine species and 70% of all land species die. entire lineages disappear. This is as close as it gets to the end of life on Earth. And for you, well, there's nothing to eat, and the water is basically high-test vinegar. Dehydrated, you begin to starve. The only company? Other desperate creatures, hunting you through the desiccated remains of forests. They drive you to exhaustion before closing in and tearing you to shreds, before they too perish from the worst mass extinction event in history. But it's certainly not the last. It takes millions of years to recover from the Permian extinction, but by the end of the Triassic period, nearly 200 million years ago, life had recovered. Dinosaurs began to appear, though this is really the time of phytosaurs, animals similar to crocodiles. DigiPeter has recovered from the trauma of being eaten by miniature saber-toothed prehistoric animals and is back to tromping around Pangaea, trying not to get eaten by archosaurs or those croc-like phytosaurs. But the supercontinent of Pangaea is starting to break apart into separate land masses. DigiPeter is in for a geologist's dream, watching the Atlantic Ocean begin to form as North America splits from Africa. Of course, this kind of tectonic action is accompanied by, you guessed it, volcanic activity. And volcanic activity pumps carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which leads to changes in climate and the ocean's chemistry. Habitats shift and huge numbers of land animals vanish. But it seems that this extinction event is more selective. While entire families of marine reptiles and phytosaurs go extinct, fish, true crocs, mammals, turtles, and dinosaurs seem to survive without much impact. As for DigiPeter, well, he seems to be doing remarkably fine for living in the midst of a mass extinction event. While the Triassic extinction is similar to the Great Dying, it doesn't hit everyone the same. He's got food, fish, turtle eggs. He's occasionally suffering from some heat stress and dehydration, but he's not freezing to death or starving. So, how would you die during this period? Old age? Maybe. As far as mass extinctions go, this one is pretty peaceful. You've got food, shelter, water. That said, to the surviving crocs and early dinosaurs, you're basically a slow-moving steak on legs. Alligator pie. And unfortunately for DigiPeter, I'm feeling a little curious as to which one of these predators would make him alligator pie. So I reached out to our friends at Versus to find out. Hey, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Peter.
Sure, yeah.
Hi, I'm the host of Versus, and our guest would probably have to be the Postosuchus.
Oh,
I actually brought a little representation here.
Oh, he's just a wee little guy.
Yeah, his foot's kind of falling off,
no.
but we printed off this prehistoric monster, and it was kind of like a hybrid between a crocodile and a T-Rex.
Okay.
As it walked on its back two legs, and it would use their forearms kind of like grappling hooks to grab any prey that got near.
So like a T-Rex, but smaller like a crocodile.
Exactly, that hybrid. But
yeah.
I think the craziest part was that it had a head over 3 feet long. That's the size of a toddler, and it had teeth like serrated daggers. So there's a reason why this guy was the apex predator.
Yeah, so he's gonna kill DigiPeter.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like DigiPeter's time in the late Triassic is not gonna be pretty.
No.
So is he better off in the Cretaceous?
Unfortunately not. See, predators like the Deinosuchus, which was basically a prehistoric alligator, would also be on the hunt for him. And,
okay, same size?
Well, actually way bigger, massive. So to show you just how big he was, here, you can hold on to this, and I'll show you just how big the Deinosuchus was.
So this guy's, whoa!
This was the Deinosuchus. This guy was around 15 to 16 feet long. This guy over here was about 40 feet long, which is about the size of a school bus. Just massive.
Except it's a crocodile.
Except it's a crocodile, yeah. So Deinosuchus would most likely ambush DigiPeter by the water and swallow him whole.
So which one is DigiPeter worse off against?
Yeah, so you probably think the Deinosuchus, but we actually put together a full episode breaking down which one of these prehistoric reptiles would win in a fight. And crazy enough, it's one of our best and craziest fights we've ever done on the show.
These two are going to fight each other.
These two are going to fight each other.
All right, well, that sounds awesome. Go check that out now on the Versus channel. And what about DigiPeter? Sorry, DigiPeter. Now let's move on to the most famous of all the mass extinction events. The one, the only, Cretaceous-Paleogene Extinction. The End Triassic Extinction opened up golden ecological opportunities for the fledgling dinos, and by 66 million years ago, the age of dinosaurs was in full swing. Earth is warmer than today. There's hardly any ice at the poles, sea levels are high, and rainforests grow across the planet. And they're populated almost entirely by dinosaurs or gigantic reptiles. For DigiPeter, the Cretaceous is a terrifying time to be alive. Or dead. Whether it's being hunted by Tyrannosaurus Rex or velociraptors or pterosaurs or just about any other predator that moved on the land or the sea, life for a mammal in the Cretaceous is the life of a snack. Sure, there's plenty of food around, but getting it is so risky. Imagine trying to snag some eggs from these guys. Now, unlike other extinction events, there isn't much lead up to the Cretaceous extinction. If you remember, some extinction events spanned millions of years, while volcanoes and climate change took hold, but not the Cretaceous extinction. It was as short as it was brutal. Cue poor, unwitting DigiPeter, blissfully unaware, enjoying a brief dino-free moment near the Gulf of Mexico. Just sitting on the beach, watching the waves, until the catastrophic moment the Chicxulub asteroid, a chunk of rock nearly 10 kilometers wide, strikes Earth at over 20 kilometers per second. The impact vaporizes its immediate vicinity and incinerates everything within 1,500 kilometers, causing tsunamis across the planet. Hurricane-level winds blast forests flat, and the impact crater jets trillions of tons of magma into the atmosphere, setting most of the forests worldwide on fire. The fallout is incredible, rubble and rocks strewn everywhere. So, how would you die? Well, if you're on one side of the world, it's incineration, shockwave, lava, or hurricane-force winds. If you're on the other side of the world, away from the shoreline, maybe you survive the initial impact. But the nuclear winter that transpires afterward? You wander a world where forests have burned to cinders, the sky is dark, and the ocean has, again, acidified. After you've been eating a steady diet of charred wood and fried T-Rex corpses, the food disappears. Then, eventually, so do you. But this extinction horror show leads to something important. The rise of mammals, and eventually you, and Peter, and DigiPeter. Without these mass extinctions, evolution would have taken a different path, and we wouldn't be sitting here today. Just in time for the next mass extinction. What'll it be? Well, hopefully, no big asteroids are coming our way anytime soon. But that's a story for another What If. Don't forget to hit the link in the description and grab the exclusive CyberGhost deal available only to our viewers. It keeps your data fully protected while you browse and unlocks content that's blocked in your country, all for just $2.03 a month. It's totally risk-free with their 45-day money-back guarantee. So give it a try and see the difference for yourself. Check it out today.